Thank you so much and welcome everyone. Thanks again for taking the time and joining us today, especially like seeing in the chat that there are so many people joining from different countries. So thank you so much for taking the time. Just to set a quick agenda for the day. So today we're just gonna go through some introductions. I will talk quickly about HubSpot. Um, then we go into directly to the panel questions because this is the most important part of the day. At the end of it, I will talk a little bit more about the recruiting in sales roles here at HubSpot, and we use the rest of the time for Q&A for all of the questions that you have for us. And in the end, when we finish this panel, I would be online for an hour in the booth for any additional questions that you might have for me. So just gonna ask to make sure that everybody is muting yourself so we don't have any distractions during the presentation. So I'm just gonna kick off with a quick introduction about myself. My name is Alicia Bog. I usually don't sound like that because I am just a tiny bit sick today, but I am a sales recruiter here at HubSpot in the emerging talent team, and I have been in HubSpot for 3 years. I'm curious to know if you want to put in the chat if you have heard about HubSpot, just so I have an idea on how many people here today have heard about HubSpot. But if you haven't, don't worry. Just there's a lot to talk about HubSpot, but I'm not gonna spend too much time on it. The most important that you know about HubSpot is that our mission as a team and a company is to help millions of organizations to grow better. And we do this by providing a powerful CRM or customer relationship management platform that provides a software to support the business growth. And something that you notice is that we build some like marketing and sales and service and website management product in our platform. So it's an all-in-one built-in platform to help the companies from the ground up. So we start some of the free and scale to meet the customer needs at any stage of their growth. So one thing to be mindful of is that HubSpot is really obsessed about customer, and everything that we do, it's around solving for them. Okay, so that is, like I said, it was very quick. I just want to get to the introduction to the panel right now. So if we can start with Catherine today. Catherine, if you can give a quick introduction, and also would be curious to hear, like, as HubSpot allows employees to work from home, office, or flex. I'm curious to know where you're joining from today and what option did you pick and why?
Yes, sure. Happy to kick it off and happy to be here. My name is Catherine. I am managing the DACH corporate and Central Eastern Europe mid-market BDR team here. Been with HubSpot for slightly over 6 years. I started as a BDR myself and then developed into the account executive role. It's a sales role where you manage the whole sales cycle. I've also been a team lead on that sales team back then and then promoted into the BDR manager role about 2.5 years ago. And yeah, what else can I say? I'm based in Toulouse. I was based in Berlin for about 4 years. So pre-COVID in the office and then during COVID, remote, hybrid. And then moved to Toulouse about 2.5 years ago. Why? Because my partner is from here and he's also working at HubSpot. And yeah, this is where we are based together with our 16-month-old daughter. So yeah, this is me in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Darcy, would you mind introducing yourself a little bit? So quick introduction, your background, current role, and what option did you pick?
Sure thing. Thanks so much, Alicia. So I'm Darcy. I'm originally from Hamburg, Germany, where I also did my master's in digital management. And I finished it last year. No, must be, I don't know. And then moved to Berlin a year ago, started as an ISC, and yeah, just got promoted from ISC to BDR within 11 months. And I'm based in Berlin, so based in Berlin, working remote and flex option, which is super nice. So I can choose from wherever I want to work. And I'm normally twice to 3 times in the office in the week.
Thank you, Darcy. last but not least, Naomi, if you can give a quick introduction to us as well.
Yes. So, hi, I'm Naomi. I also live in Berlin. I'm a BDR, and I've been a BDR since 1.5 years now, for the DACH corporate team. And since I also live in Berlin, I also chose the flex option. I'm also at the office 2 to 3 times a week. I think that's all.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. So, listen, let's kick this off with the questions. I'm very excited about them. So, the first question that we have for the panel is, how does one break into the tech sales industry? And what advice can you share with people who are looking to make a similar move? So, I am going to start this question with Darcy, if you don't mind. So, yeah, how does one break into the tech sales industry? And what advice you can share with people who are looking to make a similar move?
Sure. So I have lots of friends working in tech industry as well. So I had lots of insights before, and I gained a lot of insights during my studies in my master's in digital management. And I worked in retail during my studies and also did internships in digital marketing and social media marketing. So I had a very marketing background, and I knew, okay, I don't really want to be in marketing anymore. I want to focus on sales. And I really like the whole tech industry because it's like super fast paced and you can grow so much. And then I came across HubSpot. And yeah, then that's because why I started as an ISC, and it's been a great journey so far. I'm super happy, especially because I'm in the BDR team now. So that's basically it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Darcy. Naomi, do you have anything to add on this?
Yeah, so for me, it was more or less the total opposite. So I have a bachelor degree in theater arts, and so I don't have like any technical background or education. And after I graduated, I more or less stumbled into agency recruiting, which is like also 50% sales and 50% recruiting. And then from there, I went to a startup, did in-house recruiting in a tech startup, and then I chose or decided I wanted to focus on sales, and that's how I came to HubSpot. So I think, yeah, in general, like sometimes your background matters, and obviously you can make it maybe easier for yourself, but there are always like possibilities. And in my personal experience, having that educational background isn't the most important thing to get into sales. But it can obviously be very, very helpful if you already know, okay, I want to be in tech sales, like do something maybe to add to your background to make it easier for yourself.
100%. That is a very good call out because, yeah, definitely you don't need to be a developer or a coder to get into tech, especially tech sales. Catherine, curious to hear your perspective on this.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what was mentioned. I personally have a business psychology background, so I did a bachelor's and master's in business psychology, and spent quite a lot of time during my studies abroad as well. I did a lot of different internships during my studies in different departments, and a lot of them also in HR, and I did a lot in recruiting as well. And then actually my last internship was at Daimler in Singapore, and it was in a sales and marketing team, but I was part of the sales team more. Like it was definitely a different sales than we do now, that we do in HubSpot, because it was much more yeah, how to say, high level strategic sales, working together with the different car dealerships, etc. So obviously a totally different industry, but I really, really enjoyed this. And how I got into tech sales was by complete coincidence. I finished this internship, and after this internship, I was writing my master thesis in collaboration with the University of Singapore. And this is the moment where I kind of started looking around for my first full-time job, and somebody from LinkedIn reached out to me with an email on LinkedIn. And it really stood out to me because I could tell that this person really looked at my profile. It was a really thoughtful email where they said, "Hey, I see you have recruiting and sales experience. It looks like a great match for our business leadership program. And this whole like story started for me. Like I didn't really have a look at this. I didn't know that Dublin was the EMEA tech hub in Europe. Um, but yeah, I got interested in this, and so I got into the interview process. I really enjoyed the interview process. It was quite a long selective hiring process, with the last step including us going to Dublin and meeting everyone in person. And yeah, and the program was good to also get an overview of what the different departments were doing. So we spent a few months in recruiting, we spent a few months in support, which really helped us about like learning everything about the product in detail. And then this was followed by a business development representative role. So this is how I got into tech. And what advice would I give in general? I would say, first of all, definitely do some research on what specifically interests you. For example, if it's SaaS that specifically, so software as a service that specifically interests you, do a lot of research about all the companies that exist, about the products that you're interested in. I would definitely recommend, like when you prepare for the interviews, you don't need to know everything about the product, but having like a high level overview of what the company is doing, it's really important. So for HubSpot, I can definitely give you as a tip, if you are planning to apply, definitely I recommend the inbound marketing certification and our HubSpot Academy. Our HubSpot Academy and these certifications are free, so you can also add it as a badge to your LinkedIn profile and everything. But this will give you a good understanding of like the, I would say, value proposition and the competitive advantage of our solution. So this is really important to know when you go into interviews. I would also definitely suggest always looking at like the mission, the vision, the values of the company as well. And especially in tech, if you go on the company's website, you can do a lot of research. Do connect with the talent acquisition managers and the recruiters proactively as well. Oftentimes they do have like a hiring banner as well on their picture whenever they are proactively hiring for roles. So definitely reach out to them proactively and ask for a coffee chat to learn more about the roles, about the company as well. And I would say generally also the tech industry, like it's very flat hierarchies. Like I'm sure that if you reach out to a few people that are already in the role that you're aspiring to apply for, if you ask them to connect for 15 minutes just to learn about what they are doing and if they can give you more insight about the company, I'm sure a lot of people would be open to this as well. So these are like a few small tips from my side that I can share. Help to like break into the industry if you're interested.
That were amazing tips, Catherine. Thank you so much. You can take the step of the recruiter as well with those tips. Excellent. Thank you so much for that, everyone. So the next question that we have is, how have you navigated challenges or obstacles as a woman in the sales industry? And what advice would you give to aspiring female sales professionals? Naomi, do you want to kick this one off for us?
Sure. So for me personally, I haven't faced like any gender specific challenges so far. I mean, I can imagine there are probably cases where you might not be taking as serious enough, or people maybe are like too prejudiced to like fully trust you. But in my personal experience, I haven't like had any specific obstacles because I'm a woman. I feel like I'm having more of the general sales challenges that everyone faces. Um, so yeah, maybe Katrin or Darcy couldn't have other experiences to share.
So I can totally agree with what Naomi said. Maybe sometimes it's a bit about overcoming stereotypes, but I feel like as long as you're confident and know what you do, uh, it's totally fine. So I also never like really experienced anything negative about being a woman in sales.
Yeah, for me, when I started 6 years ago, when I promoted from BDR to account executive, I was the first woman on a DACH direct sales team. And like I do remember there are times where I think being the only woman in the team, it can feel a little bit isolating sometimes, especially if you don't have like similar role models to look up to, and there is nobody else in the team that's like more senior than you and successful that is like in any way similar to you. Which I think like these situations can create self-doubt, but I think like what I did in the situation is I focused on like staying confident, on being really good at what I do, what I was doing. So I really focused on how can I deliver the best value to my customers and so on, and let the work speak for itself. And I just like honestly, I had a good network, a great network of really supportive colleagues, of like good managers that supported me as well. That definitely helped. But yeah, I would say like, what advice can I give? I would say definitely um, advocate for yourself. Like this is important, like in any industry, I think, in the tech industry as well, like to keep building your personal brand, to keep a record of your achievements. In sales, what's really nice is that everything is can be backed up with data, so you can show them data on what you've achieved, which I personally think it's a really nice part about sales, which I really enjoy because nobody can tell me I didn't achieve what I have achieved. And then I think also it's really important, even if you don't see uh maybe other people like you around you, definitely still stay true to yourself because this is your superpower, and like don't try to fit into a mold. Like I think stay true to yourself, and I think that this part of like being authentic and being yourself, it's important not only in the beginning of your career but throughout your whole career. And definitely make sure that you know what your personal values are, stick to them. If you don't know what they are, like definitely an exercise I can recommend is just paying attention and being mindful to what gives you energy, what takes energy from you, what you like, what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy. This can be a good exercise to defining what your values are and setting boundaries around that. Um, and yeah, and we've come a long way since then. We have a lot of women in our sales team right now. I have seven women on my team personally, so we definitely come a long way since then. Um, but yeah, these are the tips that I would share.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing those insights. I think that it's really, you touch base in something really important about the confidence and being your authentic self, not only in sales, but everything that you are doing, and also finding a company where you can be your true self. And this is definitely going to be a big game changer as well. So since we are talking already, this is not particularly a skill, but let's shift a little bit for the skills. So, in your opinion, what are the skills and qualities that are essential for success in sales, particularly for women or non-binary in the industry? That's a tough one. You want to kick this one off, Catherine? Or Darcy? I see you're unmuted yourself. Go for it.
Yes, I can start. For my opinion, I would say it's super important to be curious and to be interesting to learn more, because if you learn more, you will gain more confidence, which definitely helps you. It's also very important to be structured and focus on your goals. And maybe also a thing is the ability to fail and then focus on your goals again to achieve them. So it's okay to fail. And I think sales is definitely about failure as well, but to be confident enough to focus on your goals again after you failed is, I would say, also a very important ability to have in sales.
Excellent. Thank you. Catherine, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would say a really important one for me definitely is adaptability and being able to embrace change because it's such a fast, like extremely fast-paced and dynamic industry. A lot of things are changing really fast. It's important to implement quickly and think on your feet and sometimes make really quick decisions. So I think this is extremely important. Nothing ever stays the same, so there are like changes every day. Um, and yeah, I think this is really important to adapt quickly. I also think being resilient because like I'm not gonna lie, sales definitely is a role that can be tough sometimes. You get rejections and setbacks probably on a daily basis, and it's important to not take them personally. And like staying, I would say, calm and composed under a lot of pressure because it is a high pressure, like high performing job. And like we need to be honest about that. And we do have monthly targets, for example, at HubSpot, and a month can go by really quickly. Like in a blink of an eye, it's like half of the month is gone. So definitely that is important. And I think from a specific skill also perspective, and this is like what differentiates, I would say, tech sales from traditional sales. It's like this whole idea of consultative selling and customer centricity and value-based selling, where we are really focused in a like especially in the beginning of the sales process, we take a lot of time to actually ask a lot of questions to the prospect and try to find out what are their specific pain points, what are their specific needs, what is their business need that they are trying to solve, and can we add value to this? Like, are we a good solution to this? Um, and it's also like it's definitely like this consultative selling approach is definitely about like creating long-term value for the customer and not short-term successes. It's more about like keeping these long-term positive relationships with a customer and keeping them happy customers. And there is definitely this element as well of like building and nurturing these relationships with the customers as well, because especially when you proceed into, for example, an account executive role, you don't only work new customers, but you also keep your existing customers and you keep working with them. So there is definitely this element of being able to like building and nurturing relationships as well. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Catherine. Anything you would like to add, Naomi?
So I totally agree with what was said before. I also think like the most important, not sure whether to call it a skill, but what it takes is like I think a big part is your mindset and like how you react to the circumstances. Also, as Katrin said, like many things change and a month can go by very fast. But I think it's super important to keep your mindset like in a positive state of being like, okay, don't take it personal if I fail right now, also with what Darcy said. Um, but to like not have all the other or the things happening and impact your mindset too much also goes along with like your confidence and I think those are like the main things and everything else you can learn basically. Takes a lot of discipline at times.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. This is actually a good hook to the next question because we are talking about the skills, we're talking about being adaptable and resilient. Like we all know that sales can be a very challenging environment. So when we talk about specifically about the strategies, what do you use to stay motivated and keep resilient during challenging times of period in rejection in sales?
So for me personally, all the three things I just said, which also helps in my case, is like maybe reminding yourself of a time where it has also not been that great, for example, and then just knowing that, oh, you had a bad time before, but you got out of it doing whatever, doing what you're doing. Um, I feel like that's like gives me more confidence again. And like maybe if you didn't ever have a time where it was really good, then I think also a lot of like trusting and hoping maybe. I know it's super vague, but like just trusting, okay, you can do this. You just have to put in the work and then maybe it takes a bit, maybe it's gonna take a while, maybe it's not gonna be the most fun on the way. But eventually, like if you have the right, like if you're doing the right things, the results will come. Sometimes they take longer. Um, but yeah, that's what I try to try to do. Just keep a positive mindset and believe in it working out.
Any different strategy that you put in place, Darcy?
I would say I totally agree with what Naomi said. And what I can add is that during my last year at HubSpot, I built a super nice support network from people I can always reach out to if I need maybe new input or new strategies to try. So I would say my colleagues and a great help network definitely helps to keep me motivated and resilient.
Yeah, I think something that's easier said than done is definitely like to be kind to yourself, because it can be a roller coaster and can be like an up and down. And I think it's important to have something outside of work that like that recharges you in some way, like be it a hobby that you have outside of work. I think it's super, super important because I definitely think like what I see sometimes in sales is that a lot of people, they like their confidence and their worth, etc., is dependent on their attainment. And like it's important to understand you are not your attainment, you are not your numbers. And it's important to keep like a healthy distance to this, I think, mentally, and to have something outside of work that recharges you, like an activity that that gives you energy on top of that. And I also think like something I always tell my team as well is like focus on what you can control. There are a lot of things that I think people stress about that are completely outside of their control, like the market situation, or maybe even if a client decides to buy or not to buy at the end, like all those things can be out of our control, but it's important to stay focused on what we can control. And it's like, for example, daily effort that you put in. You can see how you can maybe improve your messaging even more, like small things that can have like a big impact. I think this is also something that's important to stay motivated, to celebrate also the small wins along the way. And then also something that Darcy also mentioned before is like this aspect of like keep learning and growing. This gives like me personally energy every time. And we, for example, also like we have a yearly education budget of almost $5,000 that we can spend on like taking a course or something. So for example, I've taken some Harvard executive education courses on negotiation, for example, and this personally always gives me like energy and makes me stay motivated to like keep learning new skills additionally to my day to day.
Excellent. That was all very insightful. So thank you very much for answering that, everyone. And something that you mentioned as well, Darcy, it's about the support from different members. And this is something that we have at HubSpot. It's a very collaborative and supportive team, but also we have the mentorship to help the development in the career. So can you discuss for you personally the importance of the mentorship for that professional development opportunities in advancing the career in sales? So how did that play for you? Yeah, how the mentorship really helped you develop yourself professionally?
Yeah, I can start. So when I started in the IC org, I had a mentor, and it was super nice because it definitely helps you to kind of arrive in the role really quick, and that you know you have someone to reach out to, like every time. If it's like a just a quick question, you can send them a Slack message and you will get back an answer super quick. Or if it's like all kinds of questions, super nice that you know you have someone to reach out to. And I have a mentor for my BDR group as well, which is super nice. And I've been a mentor myself, which is also a great experience because you can share all your learnings, and you will also see, wow, it's great to see how much I learned like during my last year. So it's definitely a great program to like give advice to other ones, but also helps you to arrive at the role real quick.
Excellent. Any perspective on your side, Naomi?
I can just totally agree with Darcy. I think having a mentor is super important, especially in the beginning. And like if you're completely new to the company and to everything, like also the product, it's like so much to learn. And of course, I mean, we do have an onboarding and stuff, but it's just like very much. And having an actual person who's also doing your job tell you, hey, I would prioritize this and this, and to just learn from their best practices, I think really helps you get up to speed and makes things so much easier.
Excellent. Perfect. And since we are talking about mentorship and support, I actually have a question that would be more specific to Catherine. So, Catherine, you are a manager at HubSpot. So, and here at HubSpot, we are all about grow better, not only for the customer, but for our employees as well. So, how do you ensure that you are supporting your team growth as a manager?
Yeah, so we definitely have a few things in place that I think that for us they've become normal because they are like typical for the tech industry, but like something that we have in place, for example, are weekly one-on-ones, and these like conversations we have to like focus on a day-to-day business, like any kind of, topics, questions that are there to discuss. Also like long-term, like short-term and long-term career goals. So this is something that like we have weekly one-on-ones for that. We also have team meetings. We have team shared practices where we ensure that the knowledge is also shared within the team. We have also some like more formal review conversations half yearly, where we also speak. We kind of do like a review of the like past 6 months, and we plan for like the next 6 months ahead. So these are some things that we definitely implement at HubSpot. I think additionally, two more things that I personally find really important are as well, like as a manager, to be an advocate for the team, especially if your team members are not in the room. Like when you are with senior leadership or with their future potential managers, like you need to, like I think you need to be an advocate as a manager for your team. You need to like champion for them. You need to highlight the successes that they've achieved. And this is what I start doing when somebody starts in my team and I know they want to grow into the account executive role, for example, then I always make sure that if they win an award or they had a really strong month, that I highlight this to their future potential hiring managers so they know about their successes early on. I think that's really, really important to create this visibility within the company as well and to make sure that they already know your name before you actually apply. Like you want that. So I think this is also part of like the manager's role to do that. And then also for me, it's important to have like an open door policy and to be approachable as a manager. And in tech, like we do have really flat hierarchies. We do work a lot with Slack, for example. A lot of communication, internal communication is via Slack. And I always tell my team, like outside of team meetings, one-on-ones, team chat practices, like feel free to just Slack me your question. We can jump on a quick call, or sometimes it's a question I can answer on Slack quickly, but I always try to like, yeah, keep this open door policy, be approachable, and like I do my best to like answer these questions as quick as possible whenever someone from my team has anything they need help with. So these are like some, yeah, three things that I implement personally.
That's great. Thank you so much, Catherine. And on that note, it would be interesting to know for people out there who might need advice on this topic, how do someone ensure that their manager is giving them the right support?
Well, I think the most important thing is to talk to your manager. I mean, I guess obviously, like in general, I guess there are like probably a lot of companies or situations where there's like more hierarchies and you don't feel confident enough to be super open. But I think if you don't get it from your manager, from them, you have to like ask for it and just know that it's like also your right as their employee and team member to get that support. So if you don't get it, I think just being open about it, and I think you can always like just tell your manager, like you don't have to be rude about it, just like, hey, I'm here. I would love to get some feedback on this, or I'm struggling here. Can you help me? And just like actually be confident enough to ask for help and tell them that you need them to be there and that you're struggling maybe in that situation or not. So I think if you don't get it from them, if you don't have like a weekly check-in call or whatever. I think that's also very important to have like fixed meetings so that it never gets like lost or forgotten. Like, oh, we haven't talked in 3 weeks because we don't have like a regularly scheduled meeting. I think that's step one. And then just to talk and have that time. But yeah, so.
Anything else to add, Catherine or Darcy?
Yeah, I would say don't be shy to like communicate your goals. I think that's really important. It's actually what I do on a regular basis with my manager. I tell him like I want to get there, and it's important, like I would suggest like define your goals that you want to achieve. Be really like open about this and direct. So tell your manager like this is what I want to achieve. This is my action plan. Like this is what I want to do to get there. Do you suggest anything else that I should do or I need to do in order to position myself well for this? Um, and then, proactively like involve your manager as a mentor, I would say. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So listen, everyone, I am mindful of time. We still have some questions from the participants as well. So to finish up on a positive note, I would like you to tell us what is your proudest moment in your sales career and any additional tips or advice for everyone watching now.
So I can start. So my proudest moment probably was, yeah, well, either my first promotion or I had a also really strong quarter this year. Like being part of the top performing people. Makes you really proud, especially like if you're in sales, you want to be good at it, because it's so much more fun to be good. So I would say those are my proudest moments. And tips and advice. Yeah, like actually everything we said before, if you want to get into a specific company, just make sure you learn about them, because I think always in sales, or most of the times, unless like a company is looking for something really specific and 5 years of experience, it's being coachable. And I think in the beginning, if you already show like, hey, I already learned so much about you and your company, that already shows like, okay, you're really interested, you're so curious. If you want something, you are willing to put in the work. And I feel like that's so like adaptable to sales in general. So I think that would be a great starting point, to show, hey, I really want this. I'm willing to put in the work. I learned this already and I can learn so much more. I think that's a good way to get in, even if you don't maybe have the bachelor, master's degree education in it. That's what helped me.
Thank you,
No.
Naomi. Yeah. Darcy?
Okay, great. I would say my proudest moment is also my promotion from ISC to BDR within 11 months. And yeah, it's great to see how fast you can grow within 1 year. And yeah, I'm very proud to be where I am now, and I would definitely advise you to be very positive and be curious and be open to learn. And yeah, if you're thinking about applying to a tech sales role, I would also advise to reach out to people in the team and ask for advice before you go through the whole application process, because they can give you great insights and tips how to prepare and to see what's important in the role. Yeah, that will be my advice.
Great. Thank you so much, Darcy. Last but not least, Catherine, anything to add?
Yeah, I had a lot of proud moments, and like definitely what makes me proud as a manager is when I see like my own like BDRs advancing in their careers, like getting promoted to the role that they want to get into and so on. So definitely that's what's making me like most proud in my current role. And then another proud moment from when I was still on the account executive team was when I hit President's Club. So President's Club, it's like a recognition program that is like very common in tech industries, and it's like a recognition program for like top performing reps. So usually the top 10% of the company. And it usually also includes like a luxury trip, so to say, over like 2 or 3 days. So I got to participate in 2022, and it was in Tenerife, and that was really nice. You can take a +1, so that's very nice as well to celebrate this together. And that was definitely a big milestone and a big recognition. And I would say one really specific tip that I would give is when you're applying for a role. Uh, so this is a tip for the interviews, but like don't underestimate when a recruiter asks you, do you have any other questions? Like I think that's really important because I feel like this is the most underestimated part of the interview a lot of times, and a lot of candidates say, I don't have any more questions, so I've already asked everything. I would say definitely prepare enough questions so you can ask some questions in the end, because they do give us a good insight also in how well you are prepared, how serious you are about applying for this specific role in this specific company. So definitely, I would say when preparing for that interview, don't underestimate it and think about some like really good questions that really interest you, I would say.
That is a great advice as well, Catherine. Thank you so much. Okay, so that was the questions from the panel. I hope this was insightful for you all. So we're gonna be opening for the Q&A. So while we go through the questions, I'm just gonna put in the chat right now a survey. So this is our HubSpot survey. Just to let you know what you liked about the session and how we can improve for the next time. So please be honest in the survey. So I'm just going to put it in the chat right now. So while we are answering the questions, if you can fill it up this form, that would be really helpful for us. So I would really appreciate that. Okay, so let me check here with Vanessa, the first question from the Q&A. Okay, so what is your advice on the CV? Is there a template available that can bypass ATS and can be accepted? Is there anything specific that hiring managers focus on when hiring for HubSpot? That is a great question. So first of all, at HubSpot, we don't really use the ATS. The recruiters go through the applications themselves. I know that a lot of companies use the ATS system and is more based on keywords and skills. So my advice for that, if you're applying for a company that uses the ATS system, it's really making sure that in your CV, you are highlighting the experience, the skills and the keywords that you find in the job description. So for example, if in the job description it says that it's required a certain experience in a tool, or they are requiring some teamwork and collaboration, and you can present those skills, you have those skills, make sure that you are highlighting them in your CV, because at least you have a match to what the job description is requiring. But for HubSpot, we don't have the ATS. So it's really about what you can bring for that position. So in terms of how you can not bypass, but how can you make sure that, you know, the hiring managers or the recruiters would be interested in your profile. Again, it's referencing to the job description. So try to understand a little bit more from the job description, what is the requirement for that role, and think about what is the value, the contribution that you have for that position. We sometimes underestimate our own skills because we are so focused about the experience that we are bringing for that position, where most of the time we are giving the opportunity for people that has less experience, but they are bringing, you know, additional skills, like the transferable skills that are in line with our core values as well. So someone that is highly collaborative, resilient, and adaptable, someone that is really curious and wants to learn. So if you find a way to really highlight those transferable skills in the CV, this is something that it will really make a difference when the recruiter and the hiring managers are looking at the CV. I hope that's helpful. But yeah, if you have any follow-up questions, you can put in the chat right there. And I'm also gonna be 1 hour after in the booth, so we can connect over there as well. Okay, so the next question that we have here, what are the main skills business development representatives need to have to succeed in their position? Also, what are the main focuses and role in general? Thank you for sharing, taking the time, conducting the webinar. Thanks. So in terms of the skills for business development, Naomi, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So basically what we said before, I guess. So our job is like maybe to clarify as a BDR, our goal is to book meetings for our account executives. So we do a lot of outreach, both like warmer outreach or cold outreach. So we do a lot of calls, we send a lot of emails in order to get those meetings with yeah, qualified companies or people. And for that you need like to put in the work. So that means you need to do your calls, you need to write your emails, more focus on calls, which yeah, can take a lot of discipline. So you have to like actually want to do it because like most of the time like I'm working on my own at home or in the office, but like yeah, you need I think the discipline and or maybe want to do it. So that's the one part to actually do the work and then obviously also to know how to handle objections and stuff. But that's I would say the second part which you learn also on the job. You don't necessarily need to know before, I think. So yeah, I think the biggest thing is to actually like do the work and also not to get discouraged if it's maybe not giving you the results you initially thought you were going to get, because sometimes you have like maybe a rough patch, and then just staying motivated or disciplined enough to continue.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Naomi. Anything to add here, Darcy, since you have been recently promoted to BDR?
I would say that's definitely what I would advise everyone, what Naomi said.
Perfect. Thank you. So jumping into the next question, that's an interesting one. So what practices help you to get the right mindset for sales? Any specific books or additional resources that you can share?
Well, so I can, for myself personally, I'm a big believer also in manifesting and trusting, like the process, the universe, whatever you want to call it. So for me, that's like a big one. So just in general, like working on your mindset, not just for work and sales, but also for general life, like trusting, like if you put in the work, the results will come. Um, yeah, so I'm like I would say that's my general mindset, not just for sales, but I like it helps me a lot. Um, and for books, I mean, we also in our team, we're currently reading The Challenger Sale, which is like super sales specific, but I feel like they're also like I'm personally really into like self-development books in general. Um, I like reading them. I like to self-develop. Um, there are like so many books out there which I think are good. That would be my take.
Excellent.
Yeah, one I can also add is Atomic Habits. So maybe a lot of you already know this one, but it's about how you can make small changes that have a big impact. And I think that's an important one because you don't always need to change everything. Like sometimes it's enough to change a few smaller things, and that can have a big enough impact already. So that's definitely one of my favorite ones I would recommend.
Yeah, I'm actually not a big reader, but I love to listen to podcasts, and oftentimes they're also like summaries of the sales books at Spotify or stuff like that. And I also love to listen to conversations with women in sales. That's one of the podcasts I'm listening to.
Okay, That's perfect. Thank you very much, everyone. And I also like this question, how will introverts fit in a sales role? Catherine, if you can answer this question, maybe as a manager, if you have seen any introverts in your team.
Yeah, I'm actually just thinking of one of the highest performing sales reps, and he definitely is more of an introvert. So I can definitely say that um, doesn't necessarily have to do with being extroverted or introverted, to be honest.
Mhm.
Um, I would say there is a part where definitely this role is more customer facing than others. So yeah, so you must bring at least a certain level of like enjoying to speak to people. That's for sure because it is in the end it's a customer facing role and you need to be in contact with others. Um, but but yeah, there is like we have like in our team so many people that are extroverted but also introverted that are also super successful. Yeah, I think it's definitely possible to be an introvert and still, exceed in a sales role for sure.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Do we have time for more questions, Louis? Are we okay with time?
Yeah, you technically have 5 minutes and to wrap up. Yeah, please
Okay.
continue if you
Thank
you
you.
want.
Okay, so I have one question here. In your opinion, what can set an application apart from others for a tech role? As someone who doesn't have much experience in tech and wants to make the transition, I find it harder to make myself stand out. I think this is a little bit related to the first question that we answered. It's again about the transferable skills if you don't have the experience itself. As a recruiter, when I'm looking for sales, like especially because I look for entry-level sales, so I'm not necessarily looking for any sales experience in the CV, but I do want to see that mentality of sales. So someone that it's driven by numbers, driven by targets, someone that, has a competitive mindset. So even if you have done sports in the past and you have, this competitive side in you, it's something that you definitely should put in the CV to showcase why you would be a good fit for sales. So this is one of the things that I would be looking at in the CV. So again, it's not necessarily about the experience, it's thinking about from your skills, how can you bring value to that position? And yeah, it's also about getting what we talked here before as well, a little bit of a self-evaluation of, what do you like to do and what the areas that where relies your strength, and really making use of that to put it in your CV and presenting when you are in an interview. But again, this is from a recruitment perspective. I'm curious to know if anyone from the panel has anything to add on this. No? Okay, perfect. So I think that we can wrap things up then. Again, I will be available for 1 hour in the booth. So any additional questions, any follow-up, you can ask me there. I would be replying in the booth. So thanks again, everyone, for joining. I would really appreciate you taking the time. Just before we let you go, just to give you some quick insights on the roles that we have for sales position. So right now at HubSpot, we have positions open for German and French speakers for entry-level sales. So if you have any questions, if you want any more information about those roles, you can ask me in the chat as well. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone, and thank you for the panelists as well. Louis, Perrine, we really appreciate you getting the space for us today to talk a little bit more about our experience and insights in the sales team. And for all of the participants, the team would be connecting with you after the event as well, so you can expect an email from us. And if you want to keep following us, you can get us on Instagram, HubSpot Life, or on LinkedIn under Student Spot to get some tips and advice in your career as well. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the chat in the booth.